Internal communication is one of the hardest parts of the healing journey. Well, I guess there are many hard parts to the healing journey, but internal communication is right up there. So, just want to break it down a little bit for you so that if that feels intimidating to you, maybe you have some places to start. First of all, internal communication is simply about being aware of yourself, being aware of your own thoughts, and being aware of the things that you feel and the things that you believe. Now, I recognize that right there, I've kind of overwhelmed some of you. With trauma coping systems in particular and dissociation, there is so much of your time spent ignoring the things that you feel and think and believe. And that's because you had to. As a kid growing up in trauma and in hard situations, it was important to be able to block off parts of your mind so that you didn't have to think, you didn't have to listen, you didn't have to know what was going on internally, which helped you to block out some of the things that were happening externally. And that is essential when you are in trauma, when you're in a home where there is not the help and the care that you need, being able to block out things internally and externally is a God given survival skill. So there's nothing wrong with that. But as you get older and as you are hopefully living in a situation that is not abusive and that is not like the kind that you grew up in, it's time to start reconnecting with yourself. It's time to start understanding your own heart, to start listening to your own thoughts. And as you do that, you're going to be able to find healing. It's painful and it's hard, but as we do that, that's how wholeness starts to come together. One of the ways that you can think about wholeness is being self aware, being able to be aware of what you're thinking, of what you're feeling, of what maybe some of those beliefs are that are motivating you. Becoming aware of your trauma responses. That one can be difficult because when you grew up in trauma, you have lived with trauma responses your whole life. And so there's probably some things that are trauma responses that you aren't even aware of. I'm going to post a video about trauma responses next. And so you'll be able to become aware maybe of some of the things that you do or you say that just feel like a normal part of life, but may be responses to trauma. As you work on your self awareness and your internal communication, you will become more and more aware of your trauma responses. As we become aware of things, that's when we can really start to heal. That's when we know what we're looking at, what we're dealing with. And I just want you to know that your trauma responses are not your fault. Your abuse was not your fault. Your trauma was not your fault. You were at the hands of someone or maybe more than one person who was not good and who was making real bad choices. And your body, soul, and spirit responded the only way that you could to survive and to stay alive. And that is not your fault. Might need to take a breath on that one. I'm sure that was probably a little bit overwhelming for a few of you watching. That's okay. That's a trauma response. When we get overwhelmed, when we feel anxious, or when we shut down, or maybe even you tuned me out mid sentence there, that is a trauma response. And it's just one way that, again, your body, soul, and spirit responds to things that are overwhelming. You can breathe your way through it. You're more than welcome to stop the video. If it's a little bit much right now, you can always come back later. But if you're okay and you can move forward, then let me say self-awareness happens in little steps. In little steps. You don't need to suddenly be aware of everything happening in your mind, everything happening in your heart. That would be too much. But start with just a little bit. Maybe just set a timer on your phone for 10 seconds. And for 10 seconds, listen to your thoughts, write down your thoughts, maybe draw a picture of what you're feeling, what you're thinking. If you like art, you can paint, you can sculpt, you can go outside and play in the dirt for a few minutes, do some gardening, maybe be with your pet, sit with your cat or your dog or your horse if you happen to have a horse. Just kind of relax and just let yourself be aware of your thoughts. Just 10 seconds, start with that. If that's easy for you, go to 30 seconds, maybe go to a minute. If 10 seconds was hard for you, that's okay. Try 10 again another day. If you need to reduce it to 5 seconds, that's okay. Try again another day. It's not necessarily something that's going to be easy the first time you try it, but the more you do it, it will become easier. Invite somebody into those thoughts. We have a whole list of counselors and people that would be able to help you on our website, traumahealingcenterkc.com. I will put a link in the description to our counselor referral page. If you're like, oh man, I want to do this, but goodness, it's hard, you can do it. Just take some practice, take some dedication. It takes a lot of breaks between practicing, and that's okay too, because you're building your capacity to be self aware. So, if you're working on internal communication, start with self awareness. Start with just taking a little bit of time to listen internally. Don't forget to breathe when you feel overwhelmed. It's okay. I would start your internal communication with a big breath and end it with a big breath. And it's okay if after you listen for a few minutes, you distract yourself. That's completely fine. Write down what you experienced, maybe before you distract yourself, because you may lose it. Make a note of it and then talk with your support person about it, whether it's a counselor or a prayer minister, or maybe even just a friend or a family member who's been very supportive of you. Start there, continue to grow, but let yourself go at a pace that feels safe-ish. Safe, I know that's a weird word, huh? Let yourself go at a pace that you can manage without shutting yourself down. And we will continue with more internal communication tips later. Thank you guys.